Yeah. Well, it's good to know that at least the GI Joe thing is now available.
Yeah, I'll
So I
throw
mean,
up a when I put the stuff up, I'll throw up a link to it on the Dragoons pages.
yeah. Well, when are you getting the Instagram page set up?
Uh, yeah, I gotta work on that.
All right.
I just
Since
got sidetracked doing a
since
lot
you
of
are
other
the
shit.
are the media maven, you have a little more time than I do. Well, you know we're recording, right?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah. So, everyone, welcome once again to the Dragoon's Lair podcast, your home for entertainment. And we're doing a special episode. We're going to time travel today. So, we're going to give a disclaimer for today. We're going to say some stuff that is not of the current era. Will be saying things that fit for the 80s genre, since that's where we're going. If you have a problem with the 80s or how we spoke back in the 80s, we're Gen X. We don't care. We never gave a shit. Well, with that being said, and your warning is done, I am Daniel the Dragon, the Blue Dragoon himself. With me this time in person, we have,
I is Mike Chiavo. What is shaking, peoples?
that's right, King Hamster Pellet is here.
In the house.
That's right, folks. We are now no longer sick. We are actually
Well, let's clarify that we are no longer ill. We are totally sick.
no, we are not any sicker
We're
physically.
physically fine. Mentally, we're fucked.
Oh, absolutely. But then again, mental health was not part of the 80s culture.
No, it wasn't.
That was oh, you're seeing a shrink, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I disagree with that, but at the same time, it is what it is. It was of the age. So let us time travel back to the 80s. So we want to thank our listener, Doug, for giving us
Coming up with
this
this. Yeah. Thank
theme.
you, Doug.
And I've decided that it was a good idea. Not only was it a good idea, we're going to do this frequently.
Yeah.
We're going to time travel to the 80s and the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, but it still feels a little too fresh.
Yeah.
So, 80s and 90s, we are going to take trips back and forth through time, so to speak, every now and then.
Every now and then. Yeah.
We'll make the announcements as it comes up.
No good movies or shows are coming out.
You know,
we'll travel back
in our lulls, or
yes.
sometimes not even, you know,
just when we get bored.
Hiatus. You know, sometimes we'll just need a filler episode. So, with that all going through, congratulations to Mike. Our buddy Andre dropped the film, the G.I. Joe film that you guys did.
Yes, he dropped yesterday.
Speak up, talking to the mic.
Yesterday, February 2nd.
Yeah. Yes, on Groundhog's Day.
On Groundhog's Day at 3:30, which is the time G.I. Joe aired back in the day. He dropped a fan film that he shot that I wrote that I was in, G.I. Joe: The Fall of Cobra. It's basically an unofficial direct sequel to the cartoon film of 87. And, you know, Andre is a bit of a media whore, so he was blasting it out to anybody who had an internet connection. And one of the tweets he sent out actually got responded to by Mr. Sergeant Slaughter himself. And he's like, I liked it. Good job, but no love for the Sarge. That's a very poor imitation, I'm sorry. But, so...
All right, maggot.
All right, maggot. But, so... Andre forwarded that tweet to me, and I was like, so, I guess I'm writing a sequel with Sergeant Slaughter. He goes, yes. But, no, I will add a link to the podcast so you can check out G.I. Joe: The Fall of Cobra.
Yep, you'll be able to see the link on our Facebook.
On our Facebook, on the Instagram.
When that gets put up.
Yeah, but I'll put it up on my Instagram, and I'll share it. You'll be able to find it. If you follow us, you'll see it. Don't worry about it.
And where can they find Andre on the TikTok?
I don't know about the TikTok.
He's on TikTok.
He is on TikTok, but damn if I know where it is.
You gotta love this. Our friends, we want to promote them. We want to show them love, and unfortunately, we are.
We know shit about them.
Well, yeah, we're friends.
We're friends, but we're not that good friends.
We see each other. We're very cordial.
Yeah, but if you ask us, email it to me. No, not happening.
Congratulations, we are children of the 80s.
Yes.
So with a G.I. Joe fan film, this is a perfect segue into the 80s.
Yes, it is.
So Doug thankfully did email us a list of his top 10.
Oh, and Andre's
okay, here we go.
Page is AJ_epic EPYX on the Ticking Talk. So you can find a link to the G.I. Joe film.
There you go. So check him out. Andre is a very talented filmmaker that we've worked with several times and love to promote his work. He does great stuff. So please give that his check out and show some love. Let us know what you think of it. Let Andre know what you think of it. But we want to thank our listener, Doug, for his list because he sent this in a top 10 movies and TV shows of the 80s. Mike and I are going to do our lists first, though, and go over our stuff for the 80s. Mike did a top 10.
I did a top 10. I got carried away.
He gets carried away.
I did. I got carried away.
Everybody does a top 5. I like a top 6. Why? Because it's just one more than 5. Plus, it also, there's always that little one that it's somewhat a tie.
Yeah.
So that's why I do 6, because it just gives that one little extra. So there's that wiggle room when you can't separate.
Now, I broke mine up into 4 categories. Movies, shows.
You need to speak correctly.
I broke mine up into 4 categories. Movies, shows, songs, and then I did cartoons.
Okay, we're going to save the cartoons for another episode.
Okay.
Because I did not do that.
Okay.
I stuck with movies and series. Let me see. I did not do cartoons this time because I wanted to save that.
Okay.
Because 80s cartoons are a whole special breed.
Yes, they are.
And in the 80s,
you can get away with just about anything.
Oh, it was all toy advertisements.
Oh, what added?
So we are going to spend an entire dedicated episode to 80s cartoons.
Nice.
That will probably be somewhere March, April.
Okay.
But for now, so we want to give you guys something to look forward to down the line.
Yeah, and, to write in about and
we'll give you guys some time. Tell us which ones you remember, what you love, what stuck out for you. Mm-hmm. And you can email us at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. All one word. That's Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Needed to get that senseless little shill coming in.
As he drops his cell phone on the floor.
Of course, because, I'm a klutz. Today's been one of those days where I just did physical therapy and I literally fell.
Nice.
After the therapy, mind you. I fell trying to go to the next room for more therapy. Dropped my cane. I'm not surprised my cell phone fell. Thankfully, I have a case on it. But yeah. So we're doing our top list of songs. Okay. Let's start with 80 songs first.
Okay, you want to go first?
I'm going to go first. I didn't put in any particular order. Now, my criteria was what just brings me back to the 80s.
Okay.
And the problem is
everything brings you back to the 80s.
Because I live practically in the 80s anyway.
Yeah.
If you saw my iPod Touch, I have an entire playlist which is all nothing but the 80s. Did the same thing for the 90s, but the 80s is my playground.
Okay.
I can listen to 80s music all the time.
I do.
So I basically didn't put it in any specific order. But let's start off with Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode.
Okay.
It's a classic. Now, then I went with a little Duran Duran.
Ooh,
Hungry Like the Wolf. It was my anthem for quite a while.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear that song now, I think of the Old Spice commercial with Mr. Bruce Campbell. And I'm hungry. like the wolf.
Yeah, Bruce is a very special case with that one, and
Yeah.
his singing talents were very loud singer for that
Yes.
one.
Yes.
And I gotta check out his new book.
Yeah.
So
I have If Chins Could Kill.
I have If Chins Could Kill. I've listened to the audiobook of his second book,
Confessions of a
movie actor.
movie actor.
Yeah, which it's an actual novel.
Yeah.
And this new one I got to check out. He is a fantastic writer.
Yeah.
So, look, like great actor, fantastic writer. I definitely need to make sure that I check out the new book. I just never don't have enough time to
Yeah.
read, so I got to get the audio version of it, which I'm hoping he reads that one same way he did Confessions of a B movie actor.
Nice.
But yeah, so now next, little Pat Benatar,
Okay.
Love is a Battlefield,
Yes, it is.
and little Van Halen next, Jump.
Yes.
And now this one is a deep cut. Glenn Fry's You Belong to the City.
Ooh, off the Miami Vice soundtrack.
Yeah, you hear You Belong to the City, it feels like the 80s.
I feel like I want to walk around in a pair of loafers with no socks, driving around in a Testarossa.
Oh, you got to adjust your mic there because say that again.
I said, "You belong to the city." Makes me want to walk around in a pair of loafers with no socks on, driving around with in a white Testarossa with Philip Michael Thomas sitting next to me.
Considering the fact that you are building your own kit, yeah, it would kind of work out perfectly for you.
It would work out, and I'm not trying it.
But
Pretty much done.
But it also does. The song also reminds me not just of Miami Vice, but a TV show that's on my list because there is one episode where they play it, but they only play the instrumental.
Okay.
And we'll discuss that when we get to TV. And my last song for number 6, I Ran, Flock of Seagulls.
Nice.
Now these are the songs that they just bring me straight into the 80s. You feel it. I didn't want to go too mainstream because, there's going to be a bunch that everybody considers their top.
Yeah.
But these are just like to bring me into the 80s zone. That's my top 6.
I did my songs, a couple of mainstream songs, but I stayed away from the mainstream because then we'll all have like the same list because there's just so many great songs and stuff that came out of the 80s. These are in no particular order. It's just when I hear them, like, yeah, we got little GNR, Sweet Child of Mine.
That's definitely a classic.
Next, we have some White Lion, Radar Love.
Oh,
Yep.
that one's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
So next up, little Autograph, little bass, little Turn Up the Radio. Yeah. Gotta throw some love.
You got to adjust your mic.
Better?
No, because you're talking sideways.
How is this?
Better.
Okay. Next, I gotta throw a little love to Miss Joan Jett and I Love Rock and Roll. I too love rock and roll.
That is definitely a classic.
Now we're gonna take a little Poison. Gonna do a little Unskinny Bop.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Now we're gonna go a little weird here, and we're gonna do a little Weird Al. I'm gonna get some fat on you. Fat. Gonna do fat. Next, actually, the last 4 that I have are from the same artist. Got a little I Wanna Rock and The Price from Twisted Sister.
Okay.
And from Queen, Princes of the Universe and Give Me the Prize.
Ah, yes.
I just like the guitar in the beginning of both songs. It just grabs you.
Yep.
And you're like, oh.
See, I love the Kurgan song.
Give Me the Prize, yeah.
Yeah, the Kurgan song. It's always going to be the Kurgan song.
It is the Kurgan.
Because
it's actually, it's Give Me the Prize, and in parentheses next to it, it's Kurgan's theme.
Yeah, because let's face it, that is an amazing song.
Yep.
And hearing the Kurgan himself.
And it's funny because if you're a fan of Queen, if you only know Queen by like Bohemian Rhapsody, Another One Bites the Dust, Fat Bottom Girls, Bicycle Race.
Bicycle.
It's not Bicycle Race?
As far as I know, every time I see it, every listing, it's like bicycle.
I always thought it was Bicycle Race.
It's just bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle.
Right. Okay, Bicycle Race, bicycle, however you go by it. You listen to those songs, and, they got a very poppy sound to it. You put on Give Me the Prize, you hear Brian May just wailing on the guitar, and it's very heavy. And you're like, this is Queen? Holy shit!
And you do realize we have a connection to that song. You don't remember.
I probably do, but we've done so much stupid shit together.
Back in college,
Oh God.
Psycho Dad,
Yes.
student film project did, and we used Married with Children as a template and did an episode of Psycho Dad. And this is the first time I hit Mike with a car.
Notice how he said the first time I hit Mike with a car.
Because we had to shoot that a couple of times. So I did hit you multiple times.
Yes, you did.
But the song that's playing in the car when I hit you.
Okay, well, I didn't know that because I was too busy on the outside of the car.
But when we showed it, you can hear.
I honestly don't remember watching it.
Good. I regret watching it.
I remember, like, he had to be, like, stomping me out. So he's stomping. And I'm off camera giving, like, audio commentary.
You need to speak up.
I'm off camera as he's stomping me, giving, like, audio commentary. And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm going to see if I can break you. So he's stomping his foot. And I'm like, ow, he's stepping on my pancreas. Oh my God, it's all the way in the pancreas. Oh, the pancreas, he got me in the pancreas. Oh my God. And I'm just going off like that for like a good 3-4 minutes trying to get this motherfucker to break. And I'm looking up at him, and he's not looking at me at all because he knows if he looks at me, he's done for.
Oh yeah, I was done. Especially when you're like, oh God, my balls!
Oh, my balls! I set up my balls on my pancreas. Same foot. Oh my God, he's Sasquatch.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. And It's a Kind of Magic is an album from Queen that is the unofficial
Official soundtrack.
Highlander soundtrack.
Right.
Highlander was one I was gonna put on my list, but I want to save it for another list.
I picked up today the director's cut of Highlander.
Highlander 2, Highlander 3.
You know, I didn't mind Highlander 2.
Which version?
I only know the one version.
Oh, there's the theatrical, there's the Renegade version. That movie is a fucking train wreck.
I'm not saying it's not a train wreck. I only saw the theatrical version. If you remove the fact that all of a sudden the Immortals are now aliens coming from a different planet, and it's a decent film where, like, okay, they tried to save the Earth, they put this shield around, and now everything is hot and humid. They got to destroy the shield, but just like big company, they don't want that to happen because they don't want to lose their money. You take out the fact that they're from a different planet, and it could be an enjoyable film.
Could be. I didn't enjoy it, and that's the sad part because I love the first one.
Yeah, the first one is great. It should have stopped at one.
Yeah, it needed to be a one and done.
Yeah,
and if they wanted to continue on with the series
was great.
Which that one I felt was more of a 90s series. So we're gonna discuss a bunch of 90s stuff when we're on our trips back and forth through time. But yeah, so that's been it's a pretty good list. Like, yeah. I like your list.
Thank you.
My list, I'm only partial to my list because it's my list.
Right.
But we're trying not to put in any specific order because it's gonna all be subjective.
Yes, and Highlander, the series, started in 92.
Yeah, so that one doesn't count.
Okay.
Now, for our 80s TV shows, though, my only caveat is it could start in the 80s and go into the 90s.
That's fine.
But it just had to start
in the 80s.
So I didn't want to pick something that started in the 70s but was more popular in the 80s.
But yeah, no, this is totally 80s shows.
Yeah, wanted to keep it decade specific.
Okay.
So I want to go and take a look at Doug's list first.
Yeah, let's read Doug's list.
Doug's list for TV series.
Okay.
Okay, so Doug, this is your list.
Did Doug put any music up there?
No, he did not.
Okay.
Doug only did TVs and, movies.
Fine. That's fine.
So we're going to start with his TV
shows. Okay.
Because we're going to have a discussion about his movie list.
Yeah.
But let's start off with, and you can tell he was a kid in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because, number 1, Thundercats.
Oh.
Number 2, Family Ties.
Okay.
Number 3, Alf.
Of course.
Number 4, Knight Rider.
My boy.
That's my ringtone for you, is the Knight Rider
Of
theme
course
song.
it is.
Number 5, Voltron.
Voltron, very good. Very nice.
Number 6, Masters of the Universe.
Very nice. Very nice.
Number 7, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
I almost put that on my list.
Number 8, The Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
Number 9, Full House.
Okay.
And number 10, The Real Ghostbusters.
Okay.
So
Solid list.
it's definitely a solid list, but this is where I would have left most of this list for a cartoon list,
Yeah, me too.
because that's a lot of like Family Ties, Alf, Knight Rider, solid shows. But when you remember it as a kid for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, The Real
That was a
Ghostbusters.
Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, those were your Saturday morning, or you rushed home from
Oh,
school.
without a doubt, you rush home from school.
Yeah, you got to turn the mic. I gave you the wire, the bendy pole, so you'd have something to play with.
Yeah, but now hang on a second.
I've realized, because you're you're clearly that kid back in school that you were not. They didn't call it ADHD back then. It was, oh, he has trouble standing still and concentrating.
Actually, no. I was never the kid who bounced around the room. I just stared out the window all day.
Oh, because you seem like you had attention problems.
No, I mean, if I got bored, I just look out the window.
Yeah, it wasn't that we were problem children. We didn't have issues where we needed to be medicated.
No,
He's a daydreamer.
Yeah, I'm a daydreamer.
He just can't focus.
Yeah. I mean, they would see me staring out the window. Mike, what are you doing? Daydreaming. All right, come back to Earth. Okay.
See, I was just the kid that he doesn't play well with others.
He still doesn't.
That's never going to change.
You know.
Why would I play well with others? Listen, that's why I am who I am. I don't have to play well with others, but I say what's on my mind, and it bothers people.
Yep.
And I just don't care.
He don't give a shit.
So we'll come back to Doug's
list.
Now, he's got some good stuff on this list.
Okay.
I cannot deny Family Ties is definitely a totally 80s show.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
It is so rooted in the 80s.
Michael J. Fox is the typical yuppie.
Oh, full-on yuppie, loving Reagan.
Yep.
It's like with the hippie parents.
And then remember, I think later on in the series, the older sister, her boyfriend was like some kind of like hippie artist.
Yeah, he was like a motorcycle guy.
Yeah, motorcycle artist guy.
Making things out of trash.
Yeah.
Alf.
Alf, that's all you have to say, Alf.
It's totally 80s.
Yep. Although I was reading some stories on Alf, and Max, the guy who played Willie Tanner, he hated working on that show. He was like, that is the biggest mistake I've ever made.
Oh, it's not hard to see why, because you figure that's a lot of work dealing with a puppet that they've made into a full-on character.
Yeah, and it's like,
and Alf got his own cartoon show
and a TV movie.
Yeah,
Project Alf. I hope they really make another one too.
I really hope they don't, but
no, they kind of left it on a cliffhanger though.
Yeah, well, but Doug's got a good solid list.
Doug is. I'm not surprised Doug would make a solid list.
Okay, so Mike, I want to see your list of 80s TV shows.
Okay.
Because if Knight Rider's not on that list, I will be shocked.
No. Again, I tried to stay away from the mainstream shows because, again, everybody would have like the same list. I kind of went a little more obscure, but there are some things that you was like, oh, yes. Again, this is in no particular order. Alf. Only because it's Alf.
Of course.
Quantum Leap.
All right.
Ahead of its time. Knight Rider.
Yep. There we go.
Airwolf. Here's one, if you remember it. Riptide.
Ooh, that's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
Riptide's really
Riptide.
that's that really is ripping a cut wide
Yes,
open on
that's
that
like-
one.
Oh yeah,
That's one of those ones that you wish it felt like a fever dream.
it did. But I was probably one of the only people keeping the show on. And speaking of probably one of the only people keeping the show on, next up, Simon and Simon.
Oh my God. You actually put Simon and Simon
I
on.
put Simon and Simon on the. I liked Simon and Simon. I laughed my little ass off every time I watched it.
I seriously think I was too young for Simon and
Well,
Simon.
it started in '81 and it ran for 8 seasons.
Yeah.
V.
Oh, see, now that is a classic.
First time I saw it, and they melted the guy, I fucking lost my shit.
See, my only thing is with putting V on that list was the series in the 80s or was it the made for TV movies? Because remember, it was a mini series.
I'm talking about the series.
Okay, which I have on DVD. Clearly, the box set's sitting right there on the wall. It's in alphabetical order. Really?
I'm looking. Okay, alphabetical order. So
Up
after
at the
after Harry
top.
Potter, he has fucking Batman. So
No. The series start at the top. So work your way down. Once you get past those,
Okay, now I see it.
yeah, it's near the Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
So, but the mini series, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have a hard time not counting that as a TV show because it was a mini series, but it's also could be a movie.
Could be.
So it's.
I mean,
for years I could not remember the name of V. I couldn't remember the mini series. I remembered though the aliens of seeing like when he rips
the
off
face off, and it's a lizard underneath.
Oh yeah, and it was Mark Singer.
Yeah, Mark Singer.
Mark
the
Singer.
Beastmaster.
Yeah, there is nothing more 80s than Mark Singer.
Nope.
When you're the Beastmaster.
Yep.
Which that'll come back into play when we get to the 90s.
Although was that 90s or was that late 80s?
Oh no, it was 90s.
Okay.
90s had a lot of obscure shows, and we're going to talk 90s
Wait,
obscure.
Beastmaster was a show? I thought it was a movie.
Oh, it was they had
The
movie.
movies.
There were about three movies.
Yeah.
Then in the 90s, there was a series.
I vaguely remember this series.
There was a series, and at the same time as a Beastmaster series, there was a Conan live-action series.
Wow.
Conan also had a cartoon.
I remember Conan and the Barbarians. Yes.
Yeah, which was a really weird cartoon.
Yeah, just like Rambo.
Yeah. The 80s was a time where this is why we're going to have a separate one.
The 80s were a time where you can just be like, I want to do this. Perfect. Do it.
Or you made an R-rated movie that's not for kids, but we are going to market the fuck out of this thing.
Mm-hmm. If you want to know anything about the 80s, there was a cartoon, Turbo Teen, where a guy in his car got zapped, drove off the road in a rainstorm, went into a lab, got zapped by some kind of magic beam, and whenever he overheats, he turns into a Trans Am.
Yeah, it was not a good idea for a show. Just like
it was a good idea on paper. You should have stayed there.
No.
But I watched it.
It was a bad idea, especially when there was an older TV show. I think from like the 70s. My Mother the Car.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yes, My Mother the Car, folks.
Okay, so next up is Max Headroom. Max Headroom.
Max Headroom with Matt Fuhrer.
Matt Fuhrer as Max Headroom.
And he was on the show as another character.
Yeah,
as well.
he pulled double duty.
Oh yeah.
Alien Nation.
Okay.
And to round it off, gotta stick with oldie but goodie, The Greatest American Hero.
Yeah. Okay. That's a list with a lot of deep cuts on there. Like,
I say, I like the obscure shit.
Yeah, I knew Knight Rider had to be on your list. If Knight Rider wasn't on your list, I would question if you weren't still sick.
No, I mean, I thought about leaving it off because I didn't want to do, like, that's why the A-Team isn't on there. Because Knight Rider, Airwolf, A-Team, those are the big ones of the 80s.
Yes, but the fact that you put Airwolf and Riptide on there.
Come on.
You got it.
Must be one of the only people who remember that show.
You're not, because I think there's an episode of Toy Galaxy that covers Riptide on YouTube.
They made toys out of that?
Well, they Toy Galaxy is a channel that talks about it, like a bunch of the obscure TV shows, movies, like the merchandising and stuff. They've even hit like Dungeons and Dragons.
That was a good
for
show.
the cartoon show, but also the game itself, because the licensing issues for the toys and the show completely different. That's why we never saw like toys until I think recently they started putting out toys. So it's one of those things where it's a channel I definitely recommend for anybody if you want history on like old toys and stuff. The guy that hosts the show, it definitely a blast. He's covered a whole bunch of stuff. So Toy Galaxy, definite shout out. Like, people should definitely check that out. It gave me a lot of throwback knowledge on stuff that I forgot about. They even did episodes on Photon.
Wow.
They talked about Photon.
I remember Photon used to be on Sunday mornings.
Did you have the Photon gear?
No, I didn't have the Photon. I didn't get... I wanted the Photon stuff, and I wanted the laser tag stuff, but I never got it.
I had the Photon set. My grandmother, as a kid, spoiled me. Got me the Photon thing for Christmas one year. So I got the red and green helmet set up with the blasters. You know, you can still find that stuff on eBay.
Yeah, for like what, $400 or $500?
No,
more,
less.
Really?
Depending on condition. You know, you're not going to find it new in box.
No,
so
you're not.
We're going to have a conversation about this a little later, because this is another thing we're going to be talking about, because when we go back to the 80s and we talk cartoons, we got to hit toys.
Of course we do. They go hand in hand.
Of course. So
it's like cookies and milk and hookers and blow.
You know, George Burns, you know, my worst nightmare is a hooker with cold hands. I think he said that in one of the Oh God movies.
You know what? When you're George Burns, you can just pretty much say whatever you want. They're going to be like, okay, George, we ain't going to say nothing about you.
Yeah. It was George Burns. Dude lived to be 101. Yep.
100. God bless you, George.
And he played God.
He played God. I mean, it's not much of a stretch.
So we're going to go to my list.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. I'm just going to start off Married with Children.
Okay, Married with Children.
The show that was one of the instigators in making Fox an actual network.
Did you know what the working title of Married with Children was?
No.
They kept comparing the show to the Cosbys. So,
not the Cosbys?
Like, the working title of the show was We're Not the Cosbys.
Yeah. Well, you know that they originally wanted Roseanne and Sam Kinison to star in the show.
I couldn't see Roseanne. Sam Kinison, I could see, maybe, possibly, but I liked him. My favorite episode is the Christmas episode.
Yep. And now
Daddy's coming home, baby.
Now this is why this ties into my music for Glenn Frey.
Okay.
Because there's the episode where Al and Steve.
Steve, okay.
So it's still Steve. So Steve and Al are looking for Marcy's Barbie doll. And they're wandering the streets because they sold them all for like baseball cards. So to get the money for Bud was going to collect baseball cards. I never understood exactly the premise behind that. They were always broke anyway, but it was like, okay, so they sold Marcy's old toys to get the money for the certain card. And now they had to go look for it. And they're walking the streets of Chicago. And you hear, "You belong to the city." You just hear the saxophone. It just signifies to me that like dark, gritty, like 80s, like almost like a detective noir kind of style.
Well, here's another little connection. I believe on the pilot episode, or one of the episodes in the first season of Miami Vice, Ed O'Neill played a drug kingpin.
There you go. See, now that's the thing. You know, that everything ties together.
Yep.
And Ed O'Neill playing a drug kingpin is still better than Dutch.
I didn't mind Dutch. I liked it.
You were probably the only one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Me and my father.
But yeah, so now, number two.
Number two.
Golden Girls.
Okay.
Golden Girls, it gives me a lot of great memories of my grandmother like watching me after school and stuff, and just spending time with my grandmother. So it's
Okay.
I got a lot of connections to that show, and now that the Golden Girls are all reunited,
Yeah,
it 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 saddens my soul.
it does.
So even though it is a top show from the time, I needed to put it on the list no
Okay.
matter what.
That's fine.
The A Team,
Okay.
because there's nothing more 80s than the A Team.
No, not at all.
Band of mercenaries driving around in a van.
Yeah.
And Hannibal opening up in the intro, and you see the flap out of the Godzilla costume.
Yep.
Like his face sticking out of the neck.
Yep.
Lighting the cigar.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. So it's one of those things where you just sit there and you're like, yep, this is it. There's nothing better.
Yep.
It's like, absolutely. So now this is where I'm going to go a little sitcom-y.
Okay.
Perfect Strangers.
Cousin Balky.
Yep.
Cousin Laddie. You know, people say
Cousin Larry Appleton.
Cousin Laddie Appleton. These people you say look like they reminded me of Bronson Pinchot.
And you kind of do.
I could see it a little bit.
Yeah. If you did one of those TikTok trends where your celebrity doppelganger,
It would be
Bronson
I've
Pinchot.
gotten a couple of times. I've gotten Bronson Pinchot. I've gotten once a Scott Baio.
I would take that as an insult.
I would. I've gotten a couple of times John Stamos. I got John Stamos a couple of times.
Okay.
And one time, I was in the bank. I had on a Yankee jersey. Little old lady standing in front of me. She looked over her shoulder, saw me, and she went, whoo! And quickly turned around. And I was like, odd. And she did like a triple take at me. And this woman had to be in her, like, at the time, had to be in her 80s. She looks at me. She goes, are you? But she said it in like the perfect little broken English Irish accent. I go, am I who? Because I had on a Yankee hat with a Yankee jersey on. She goes, are you Andy Petite? I couldn't say no. I looked at her. I nodded my head yes, and I went, shh. She goes, ah. And I ended up like signing her, I don't know, CVS receipt or something. Woman's name was Florence. I go, to Florence. Batters up. Love Andy Pettit. I couldn't say no to the woman.
That's right. Just sometimes the little old lady's just too sweet to say
Yeah,
no to.
I couldn't break the woman's heart, and made her smile. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So now, number 5, Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I was never a big Pee-wee fan.
Really?
Yep. My brother liked Pee-wee's Playhouse. He had the Playhouse play set. I used to watch Muppet Babies at 11 o'clock on Channel 2, and then 11:30 Pee-wee came on. I was like, you can watch it. I'm leaving. Not, God to say, I'm sorry. Just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, well, I was a Pee-wee fan. Love Pee-wee. It was a great thing as a kid. Just the ridiculousness,
Yeah.
the screaming. It was just it really does scream the 80s though.
Cowboy Curtis. Who is he?
Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne. Cowboy Curtis. Highlight of his career.
Yeah, right. And now this one's gonna make you even cringe as to why I put this on the list.
Oh God.
Small Wonder.
It's a small wonder. Yup.
Loving
original.
and bright with soft curls.
The original Megan.
Yeah, that was Megan before Megan.
That was Megan before Megan. I actually read something. I think the woman who played Vicky, I think she's a nurse now, out in Colorado somewhere.
Oh, I heard psychologist.
Something in the medical field. I thought it was a nurse.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It amazes me when we find some of these actors that have gone on and are no longer acting,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a career that you're like, I would have never thought.
The kid from the 1970s, Willy Wonka, who played what's his name, Charlie?
Yeah.
He is now a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man.
Stacey Keenan from My Two Dads.
Yes, okay.
You know,
The
she's
daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, she's like a big lawyer
No.
in California.
No, I did not.
And listening to the Pod Meets World podcast for Boy Meets World. They were talking to one of the other actresses from the show, Christine Lakin.
Okay.
She said the two of them are going to be doing a rewatch podcast of Step by Step.
Step by Step, or am I too bad?
Step by Step.
Okay.
Because Christine Lakin was on.
Right, she was on that one too, right.
Yeah. So, and I got a chance to meet Stacey Keenan at a Chilla Theater one year. I couldn't, like, looks completely different. She, beautiful girl.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, oh my God. I was so happy to meet her, and she was so sweet, but a lawyer? Like,
Hey.
I'm like, okay, you know what? She could defend me any day. It's like,
That's just like, what's the name? Winnie Cooper. She's like a physicist,
oh, a mathematician.
mathematician.
Who's written a bunch of books on teaching math.
Yep.
I almost put The Wonder Years on my list. Almost.
Well, here's another obscure one. Brian May from Queen.
Yep.
He is a physicist who wrote part of the program for the lander that landed on Pluto a few years back.
See, things you would never expect. Yep. So this is what happens when we time travel. We get a whole bunch of crazy shit.
We go off on so many tangents.
Oh, absolutely. But they're fun tangents.
They are. They're fun tangents. At least we think they are.
Yeah. Hopefully,
and if you don't, write in, let us know.
That's right. And you can let us know at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's Dragoon's Lair Podcast. All one word, and Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's right, folks. I go into shill mode hard.
Yes, he does.
You know, I got to thank my buddy Russell for that, because he drilled that into me in the old podcast that him and I used to do, where we, like, when it comes down to shilling stuff, it's a natural talent for me. We got to get you a little better at it, so you can promote your own stuff.
I know.
I know. Now I want to go and take a look at Doug's movie list.
Okay.
Because before we touch ours,
let's hear Doug's.
We need to hear Doug's, because I have an issue with his number one right off the bat.
Okay.
Back to the Future trilogy.
Okay.
I have a problem with it because that's not one movie. That's 3. You cannot say Star Wars and count the original trilogy as a movie. It's a series. Each one tells a story. Technically, the first one was done. They just added the little tag on at the end of Back to the Future.
Because Zemeckis never wanted to do a second one.
Yeah.
But the studio said, do it or we'll get somebody else to do it for you.
Have you seen how much money this shit's making?
But I mean, it would have been fine leaving it one and done.
Yeah, and that would have been perfect. And
I mean, not putting the knock on 2 and 3, but I can understand where Doug is coming from. It tells one story, just like episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Star Wars. They all tell one story, so you can, especially with Back to the Future, how the ending scene of 1 is the beginning of 2, how the ending of 2 is the beginning of 3.
Unfortunately, it is a little confusing, at least for me, because we have 2 separate Jennifers.
Well, that wasn't.
It wasn't.
That was just because the woman who played Jennifer in the original film, her mother became sick, and she said, I'm taking care of my mother.
Yeah, listen, I like her.
I mean, she would have been in the other 2.
Yeah, the first Jennifer was great.
Mm-hmm.
She came back to do the voice in the games that they came out with.
The Telltale games?
I think so, yeah.
Those are fun.
And the thing is, I love Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue, again, Elizabeth Shue is great.
I
didn't have a problem with either one of them.
Yeah, but Elizabeth Shue is my favorite.
Okay.
Now, next, The Lost Boys.
Okay.
Number 3, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep. Of course, I knew that had to be on there somewhere.
Problem is, I can't argue with those last 2 picks.
Big Trouble and Lost Boys?
Yeah.
Why would you argue with them?
I can't, because they're both on my list.
Ah, there you go.
So, The Goonies.
Okay.
I was tempted to put it on my list, but I couldn't.
Why not?
just because I had others that I wanted to put on my list, and I was narrowing my list. I
Okay.
wasn't doing 10. So you got The Goonies, which is a great movie.
Great film.
Absolutely love it. The Great Outdoors.
Yes.
Gremlins.
Okay.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Classic. Can't touch it.
Notice how he only chose one Indiana Jones movie.
Well, I like the first 3, but Raiders will always be my number 1.
See, for me, it's Temple of Doom.
Really?
Yep. Temple of Doom just gave you everything. It was all over the place. You got a musical at the very beginning, and then it's like you've got like the action movie setting. Then you've got like the mystery of traveling into the jungle, trying to find like the Shankara stones. Yep. And then you had like almost that little horror element to it
when
with the ripping
the
out the heart.
And Indy goes bad.
Oh, yeah. So with the voodoo priest style stuff. So it was one of those movies where I felt like it had everything.
Okay.
And then I love the character of Willie Scott. People may find her annoying, but it was Kate Capshaw.
It was Kate. Space Camp.
Yeah. Kate Capshaw was just amazing.
She fit the role.
You know, I downloaded the song, so I have her singing.
Really?
Anything Goes.
Good.
Like, I was like, wow, she's actually really good singer.
My favorite sequence in that whole film of Temple of Doom was in the beginning when they're in the nightclub.
Oh, absolutely. Hit them running with the machine gun.
Running with the machine gun, hitting the tin.
Yeah, the shield.
The shield.
The giant gong that basically was the shield. Now, number 8, Better Off Dead.
Not surprised.
I regret I didn't put that one on my list.
See, I already have two of his are on mine. So
yeah, I didn't put a John Cusack on my list, but it's because I want to hit one for the 90s. But then Willow.
Yeah.
We've raved about Willow so much,
and guaranteed it's not on either one of our lists.
Yeah, I know it's not on mine.
It's not on mine either.
And then Batman 89.
Again,
not surprising.
Not surprising, but I left it off my list because I didn't. Again, like I keep saying, if we put the big films of the 80s, we would all have the same list because they're just so classic. But knowing Doug, I am surprised he left Ghostbusters off the list.
Yeah. See, I thought about putting Ghostbusters on my list, but I didn't want to be obvious.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Again, because our list would be the same then.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so many great films that came out of the 80s that if you were to make a top 10, they might be in different orders, but
they'll
would
be
all
there.
pretty much have the same top 10.
Oh, yeah, you would see the same things over and over again.
Batman, Ghostbusters.
That's why when you look up a top list online, depending on where you're seeing it from, it's a different order,
movies.
but it's the same
movies.
Yeah. So, and I'm a movie guy, and
you
know, it's like I can pull some obscure deep cuts out of this, but it was like, Batman 89, I wanted to so bad. I looked at it and I was like, do I want to put that one on or do I want to put Beetlejuice on? And I was just like, I got to hold back.
Yeah.
I got to rein myself in a little bit for my list.
Okay.
So we're going to do my list of movies.
Let's hear it.
So now, my list for 80s movies, I went a little obscure, but not too crazy. You know, I'm going to say it out of order because I've already said that The Lost Boys and Big Trouble in Little China are on my list.
Great film.
There was no way I was not putting Big Trouble in Little China because John Carpenter did such an amazing job on a movie that didn't make money in the box office, but became a cult classic on home video.
And a lot of people are under the misconception that Kurt Russell is the hero of the film when he's
the sidekick.
He's the sidekick.
Yeah. And have you listened to the DVD commentary for Big Trouble in Little China?
No.
There is a moment between John Carpenter and Kurt Russell where John Carpenter says, I think this was your best role, seconded only by Captain Ron.
Oh, wow. I totally forgot about Captain Ron. Holy shit.
That sticks out in my mind, but it was just like,
Captain Ron.
The talent that was in Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
It had to be on my list. There was no way. Now, The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Quintessential 80s movie. There was no way it was not going to be on my list. Now, This one is going to be a little off, and I've tried to get you to watch this many times, and you keep like, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Amazon Women on the Moon.
I haven't seen it.
You really have
I know.
to.
You keep saying I should see it, but
I'm like, I
haven't.
am pushing so hard for this obscure movie. The level of actors that are in this movie, you would not believe the talent. Michelle Pfeiffer's in it.
Wow.
Steve Guttenberg.
Hey, that's a classic right there. You got Steve in there.
I believe Rosanna Arquette.
Okay.
You have Arsenio Hall is in this. Early Arsenio Hall, before the Arsenio Hall. This was before the show.
Before the show. Before he was Winston.
Oh, David Alan Grier.
Nice.
There is some talent in this movie, and it is funny. And I love this movie. I watch this movie every now and then, even if I remember everything about it.
Right.
I still love it.
Yeah, you can recite it.
I can't
heart.
Oh, I can't recite it from heart because it goes all over the place.
Yeah, but it's like one of those films. No matter how many times you watch it, you still sit back and you watch it.
Yep. Now, this one is for the obscure because people forget it came out in the 80s, but it did. The Toxic Avenger.
I knew it came out in the 80s.
Yeah, but you knew it was also going to be on my list. It's the
yeah.
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger. Toxie.
Oh, yeah. Trauma Studios came out with, and do you remember the multiple different versions of seeing movies back in the 80s? You got the theatrical release.
Mm-hmm.
You got the cable cut.
Yep.
You got the basic cable cut of
and then you got the After Dark cable cut.
Yep. There was so you had the HBO version, you had the USA version, the USA Up All Night version.
You got the Skinamax version.
Yeah, they basically recut movies back then to fit whatever they needed.
Yep.
But the Toxic Avenger is absolutely on my list of favorite movies. And then my last movie, Teen Wolf.
Okay.
Had to go with the Michael
One or
J.
two?
Fox. One. I will never two.
I know.
The boxing sequence and stuff, they were really stretching. Jason Bateman is a great actor, but that was a role that you could tell cash grab.
Without a doubt.
He got that one. That was for the for the
paycheck.
There was no way around that one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to your list of 80s movies.
Okay. Again,
I can't wait to hear this list.
Yep. Again, I tried to stay away from the big names because I've said it before. Again, this is in no particular order. We have, starting off, A Fine Mess.
I don't even think I know that movie.
That is a Blake Edwards film.
Jesus.
Starring Howie Mandel, Ted Danson, Paul Sorvino, Maria Conchita Alonso, the guy from Empty Nest, the doctor, Richard Mulligan.
Yeah.
And, I see the other guy's face, but I can't remember his name. He was in, a couple of episodes of MASH. He died just recently. Let me look it up real quick. But the premise of the film is, Ted Danson is a actor, and he's on set at a horse track, and he takes a nap next to a horse stall, and he overhears two gangsters drugging a horse to make it run really, really fast. Gave it like a super steroid, and he gets seen by the mobsters. Now the mobsters are after him, and he tried to convince his friend Harry Mandel to place a bet so they can make all this money. And it's just like a comedy of errors that happen because Ted Danson in the film can't keep it in his pants.
So basically, he was pretty
Himself.
much before Cheers. Was it before Cheers or during Cheers?
When did Cheers come out? Because this came out in '86. So it probably during his Cheers run.
Yeah, it had to have been during the Cheers run.
Yeah. Okay, so the cast of A Fine Mess. Ted Danson, Harry Mandel, Richard Mulligan, Paul Sorvino, Stuart Margolin.
Okay.
That's the other guy I can remember. Maria Conchita Alonso. We have a very young James Cromwell.
Oh, Jesus. Talk about deep cuts.
You have Dennis Franz.
Before we saw his ass on NYPD Blue.
Yup. And that's about it. And this is pretty much, a movie that made no one famous, but it's a good, stupid, funny 80s film.
The fact that I have an extensive movie knowledge, and that is one that has gone under my radar.
Yeah.
So that tells you that is obscure.
It is, but it's funny. Next one. This is a twofer.
A twofer?
Twofer.
Twofer.
Twofer. Just like Foofer, Big Blue Dog Foofer, the original Foofer. Anyway, guilty pleasure. Got to put it on the list. American Ninja 1 and 2.
See, now they're two separate movies.
Yes, but
see, that's where
I gave him the 2 spot.
See, I'll give
It's a guilty pleasure. Come on.
Oh no. But they're two movies.
Yeah.
They're two movies, and there's not I love them both.
Yeah.
Because Action Jackson. The second one was the one where he really shines. He comes out with the 2 butterfly swords.
Yep.
Just it was amazing.
My favorite part of the second film when Jackson is towards the end, he was fighting that one ninja, and he's beating us. This fight went on for a good 6-7 minutes, and they're beating the snot out of each other. And every time you think Jackson won, the ninja would get up again, and he's beating him down, and he's beating him down, and this fucking ninja keeps getting up. Finally, he gets up again. Jackson looks at him and goes, "Stay down!" And the guy just fucking falls. I'm like, that is writing brilliance. How that movie did not win an Academy Award for Best Writing.
I wonder, was it part of the Cannon film franchise?
Yes, it was.
And that's why. Because there is a documentary about Cannon films. Electric Boogaloo. The rise and fall of Cannon films.
Yes. Oh, remember Electric Boogaloo?
Oh, absolutely.
Put that in
my brother and I, we watched that. I would say we actually watched that last year. I every now and then when I hang out with my brother, we put on some deep cut.
They keep trying to make a second one.
There is a second Electric Boogaloo. There was Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. So we had Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. That's where Electric Boogaloo comes from. But yeah, the documentary Electric Boogaloo: The Rise and Fall of Cannon Films is so interesting to see because there is a moment in there that, spoiler, Cannon Films made so many movies throughout the 80s.
RoboCop, right? RoboCop and Total Recall?
No. I think that was a different one, but it was the Cannon Films that they did Over the Top with Stallone. Stallone while doing Over the Top,
and Robert Loggia.
Oh yeah, when he was doing that, he showed up on set he visited the set for Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
Saw that Dolph Lundgren was playing He-Man. And they say in there, he's like, "You gave that guy lines?" So
if he dies, he dies.
He dies. He dies.
I must break you.
I love Dolph Lundgren. Like, the dude is amazing. But to hear that story alone, you're just like, you gave that guy lines?
Yeah, and then he went off and he almost killed fucking Stallone in the ring.
Well, you know what? Good. Because frankly, it's like, Stallone is somebody who should not be talking about, you gave that guy lines?
What do you mean?
I'm like, okay, Mumbles. Listen, Stallone could kick my ass, and I know he could.
Kick anybody's ass.
No. Especially my ass. I'm broken, but I can't even outrun him at this point.
I mean, I can kick Danny's ass at this point.
That's debatable.
I can kick you in the leg and run away.
You'd have to run.
Yeah, well.
But if I ever catch you, you're screwed.
I didn't say it would be for a long time. I just I can kick your ass and I run away.
I'll just sit on you.
All right, Butterbean.
Hey, listen, I've gotten too fat over this this time of recovery.
Anyway, okay.
So
gotta go with this one. Howard the Duck.
Oh,
gotta love Howard.
I was so tempted for my list. I really was, just for the soundtrack alone for that movie is great, but it is so disturbing.
Little bestiality in there.
Yeah, I love Leah Thompson. Like, She is amazing.
I think my favorite line from that movie when Tim Robbins is trying to get a hold of Howard, and he's like, Howard. He goes, no sex now, working.
Yeah,
My favorite line. No sex now, working.
it is such a bad movie.
But that's what made it great.
I know. It was
Come on,
it was so bad it was good.
The Howard suit, $2 million fucking dollars for that suit.
And it's one of the first Marvel movies.
Yes, it is. That's why he was in Guardian. I mean, honestly, his cameo at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy sucked. They should have gotten the guy in the suit. They should have got the suit back because
what was Seth Green doing the voice?
I didn't have nothing to do with the voice. The way it looked horrible.
Oh no! Well, the thing
you bring back that $2 million suit and you give it another go because the way they made Howard look at the end, I'm like, no.
Well,
that's not Howard.
You got to remember something too. I think there was an issue with like the rights for Howard the Duck because there's like another kind of version of him in DC, and they basically went and they've had a collision in the comics, so there's kind of two Howards. Well, one in Marvel and one in DC.
Do you remember the Marvel Zombies?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Miniseries that they have. Well, after a while, they were like, oh, let's just Marvel Zombie everything.
And they did.
But towards the end, when it was really getting goofy, they had Howard the Duck.
Oh, of course.
As one of the zombie killers.
Oh,
and
of course.
He just goes buck wild. And with the cigar in one hand, a gun, and a freaking martini.
Oh, yeah. It was Howard the Duck. You had to.
That's all you got to say, Howard the Duck.
What do you got?
Police Academy. The first one.
Of course.
Big Trouble, Little China. Got to throw it up there.
Notice all three of us.
Yes.
It really is a staple.
It is. It's a staple.
It's an underrated staple.
It is. They Live.
I was so tempted to put that in there because I love that movie and one of the longest fight scenes in cinema history.
Yes. Legend.
See, I thought about that one, and I just couldn't do it.
Why not?
I love Mia Sara,
and
I love Tim Curry.
Oh yeah,
but that movie is so fucking slow and quiet that you kind of sit there and you're like, well, at least they're not letting Tom Cruise speak.
Yeah, all that much.
But oh my God, it really was that moment of like, it's not something I can watch again.
No,
it's like you watch it once and you're pretty much done.
Unless it's like you have nothing else on and you're flipping channels and you want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Next up, Better Off Dead.
Of course.
Clue.
Clue. You had to get another Tim Curry movie.
I had to get another Tim Curry movie.
I can't blame you for that one. It's Tim Curry.
And I think it's funny how, like, I never saw Clue in the theaters. I only saw it on when it was on HBO or whatever.
See, I only saw it on Channel 11. So I saw it on 11 WPIX in New York. So getting to see, like, that was, I didn't know that there were different endings.
Neither did I. See,
I saw it in the theater.
Right, because I only saw it when it was on TV.
Yep.
And I thought they did it that way on purpose. My friend Danny saw it in the theater, and he saw one ending. And then our buddy Rob saw it in the theater, and he saw a different ending. And he's like, what are you talking? It didn't end that way. What are you talking about? And just the way they did it that way, it's... Who would have thought, like, now to end a movie 4 different ways?
Oh, absolutely. You know what?
But each way
brilliant.
Worked.
And it was brilliantly done. And Tim Curry sold it every single time.
Tim Curry is just amazing.
Yeah, Tim Curry is one of those talents that is irreplaceable.
Yes. And rounding out my films, The Three Amigos.
You had to get...
I had to go to Three Amigos.
You definitely hit a lot of deep cuts with your list.
Yeah, I go obscure, man.
Listen, so did I. I mean, I hit obscure, but not even as obscure as
Come on, not as obscure as Riptide.
Yeah, once you hit Riptide, I was done. I was like, mother. Oh, no, and then what was the movie that you said with Ted Danson?
Oh, A Fine Mess.
A Fine Mess. I don't even know this movie.
If you have Tubi, watch it on Tubi.
I have Tubi.
Watch it.
I will watch it. But you need to watch Amazon Women on the Moon. I believe it is on Amazon Prime.
Of course it is.
For free. Like, it's one included.
Okay.
with Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken, or at least it was the last time I watched it, because I have the DVD.
Of course you do.
I had to.
He has it signed too, folks.
I wish I had it signed. Do you know how many people would have to fucking sign that movie
Mm-hmm.
for it to be signed? Carrie Fisher even is in the movie.
Really?
Yes. There is so many celebrities in this movie at different points of their career. So it's one of those things where you're just like, you got to be kidding me. And there is a moment of like the old investigative, like unsolved mysteries kind of shows in there
Mm-hmm.
called Bullshit or Not.
That should be a show, bullshit or not.
Yeah.
We should do that, bullshit or not.
We should, but then again, we could do that with just watching the news.
We could.
You know, it's like, okay, I can sit there, we just pick two different news channels and then go back and forth. Bullshit. Or not. I've already known which one is going to be all bullshit no matter what. But that's just the insanity of the world we live in.
You sure I can't do my cartoons now?
No, we're saving the cartoons list. I know it's killing you, isn't it?
It's killing me.
I can't give my list because I didn't do one.
It's just like if you look at the top, look at numbers 1, 2.
Pass me the list. Let me look.
6, 8.
Let me look.
9.
Let me look at the list. Like he's handing me the list.
Yeah.
So, motherfucker. No.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Do you know what the worst part is?
You liked them all.
Yes, but let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like the bulk of these are actually episodes that are on Toy Galaxy.
Yeah. Well,
you could.
That just happened to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
Guys.
No,
I didn't rip anybody off.
No, you didn't. No, they've done individual episodes of each one.
Yeah, I'm saying
of the
I didn't rip anybody off. This is just.
Yeah.
This is what I liked.
Listen, I can't even shit on the list, but because I would have probably had some of those things, almost all of them.
I'm looking at one of them right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, you stared at the wall,
and
it is on there. But we have to save something.
Okay.
We've got to
All right.
We got to rein it in a little bit because now let's go into our TV shows though.
Okay.
Now I want to take a look at the TV shows. Pick one of your TV shows, right?
Okay. Let's do Airwolf.
Well, okay. What made you choose Airwolf? I mean, it's
Night Rider with a helicopter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Watching it when I was a kid, this was cool. The helicopter looked cool. It was, I don't know. It was cool in the 80s. You know,
but it was a helicopter.
It was a helicopter. I know. I mean, why couldn't it always made you wonder why couldn't the bad guys just go into a tunnel?
Yeah, it was kind of like what was it in the 90s? You had Thunder in Paradise.
Hulk Hogan, Chris Lemon, and Carol Ott.
Yeah, it was in a boat.
It was go on land. Go to
yeah.
Freaking
just go
Nebraska.
Just go into just leave the water area and you are safe from them.
Yep.
So it was one of those bizarre premises where you're just like, are you fucking kidding?
Yeah, but it was just, I don't know, it was cool.
All right.
I like the fact that they hit a helicopter in a fucking cave and no one can find this damn thing.
Now, we'll go on my list for one. Small Wonder.
Okay.
They could never make this show. I don't know, it stays in my mind because there's no way you could ever make that show again. Because the husband is a robotics engineer, makes a robot girl.
Yeah.
The very first episode, he was trying to keep it in his bedroom with him and his wife. Put her in a maid's outfit, mind you.
Yep.
Tell me how wrong that sounds, especially when they store Vicky in their son's room in his closet.
Yeah.
It's the first fucking real doll.
It is.
Because the comedian Whitney Cummings has a real doll of herself that has the electronics that can talk. So she can make it move and do things. This is an early version of Vicky. It's just, it was a child.
It was the 80s. That's all you had. Anything crazy, only thing you had to say was, it was the 80s. Any rules went out the window. It was the 80s.
Oh, it was the 80s, all right. But the thing you have to realize is that not only was it the 80s, but it was small wonder. Whoever, if someone is listening and is out there and can answer this question that I have, were the creators on a lot of cocaine when they came up with this? Because
the answer is yes, because it was the 80s.
I want an official answer from one of the creators, because if they went, I need to know. Did you guys have to go to rehab for how much cocaine it took to come up with this show?
No, they probably had to take more of it to come up with the show. They were going through withdrawal.
You know, I heard online rumors that, you know, we had no internet in the 80s, so we know nothing about these shows.
Mm-hmm.
In the early 2000s, early internet days, there was a website, I think, that was devoted to Small Wonder, and I saw there was, part of the rumor was there was a proposed spin-off of the evil version of Vicky going to live with the grandparents on like a farm somewhere. I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Especially because the evil version of Vicky talked normally.
Yeah.
But yet, Vicky
had that robotic voice.
Oh, it was, are you sure?
Yep.
Okay, Dad. You're like, are you kidding me?
You made a fucking artificial intelligence, but you can't figure out the voice.
Yeah, and it was like, wait, you made an artificial intelligence, but in the 80s, you had the technology to make skin for this robot?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but yeah, no matter how much I loved this show as a kid, it still is one of those things where it's like, you tell people and it's like, it's a fever dream.
Yeah, it is.
It really is that full fucking fever dream of like, I'm going to tie it in with something that's on all three of our lists. It's like when they're in Big Trouble in Little China, and right before they're about to go face off against the big bad, they have the mystical concoction.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm feeling really good. I feel like I can take on the world. Like,
I think one of my favorite lines on that, when they're in the office and they find the secret entrance to the elevator. Hello, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite things about the movie, especially is years later, seeing the DVD, listening to the commentary. Oh, it not only holds up, it is a beautiful example of what you can do in filmmaking, especially with what kind of a budget did they have.
Yeah, not much.
But Kurt Russell was sick as a dog while they were filming. Remember the sequence in the movie where they're going and he's like so confused, he's like dripping in sweat, like when he came back after like going into the massage parlor in his like little geeky getup and everything.
Yeah, I remember that part.
He turns out he was sick, had a fever. You got Kim Cattrall is like talking, saying her lines, the other guy saying his. They're just they were all going and he's just confused. He had a massive fever and was still filming.
That just goes to show how much of a
yeah.
Well, another quick little side note, in the movie The Perfect Storm, there was they were shooting one day and Marky Mark is in it, and George Clooney was talking behind the scenes, and he was like, "This is how much of a professional Mark is." Where he was sick as a dog, they would do the scene, the director would call cut, and he would run off camera and throw up and come back because he was just that sick.
Yep. Well,
I really hope, going back to Big Trouble, I've been hearing this rumor for years, and I'm sure you have too, either making a sequel or rebooting it with The Rock, and I hope to God it never happens, because again, you have to keep in mind Kurt Russell, sidekick.
Yeah.
Even though you might think, oh, he's the big name, but he his character was the sidekick.
Yeah.
And I don't see The Rock being a sidekick.
I can if they're trying to say that Kevin Hart is your lead,
No.
which, once again, I don't want to see it anymore. We've seen it so many times with them, and they're funny together.
Oh yeah, they're hysterical. But
I can't see The Rock being the sidekick because the comedy's not going to be the same.
Nope.
Because it was when they made Big Trouble in Little China, it really was turning expectations on their head because you really, it was like, no, you expected Kurt Russell, the white guy, to be the hero.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's not. It's
and
Wang. Wang is the fucking hero.
If you're just watching it, you might be like, oh, Kurt Russell, he's the hero. He does this, he does that. But
he was the name in the movie.
He was the name. But again, who's the one who killed Thunder? Wang.
Yep.
I like the whole fight scene they have, and like Thunder rips out a sword, and Wang does something, and he holds up like a little pocket knife or something, and Thunder's like, "What the fuck?" And Wang just looks at him and he wiggles his eyebrows. He's like, "Uh huh."
Well, listen. I mean, Kurt Russell. Yes, he takes his boot knife, throws it.
Yeah.
He gets caught. It's like, oh, Mr. Button, and it gets thrown right back at him. He catches it and whips it right back.
It's all in the reflexes.
Yeah. It was like, no, you got lucky as shit.
I think one of my favorite scenes is the when him and Wang get captured and they're being tortured in the wheelchairs, and somebody hits him and he's rolling backwards.
Oh yeah,
and he's just like and just like the look of terror on his face, and as he's rolling past everybody, and everybody just kind of looking at him like, what the fuck was that?
Oh yeah, but it like, even though they were supposed to be in like an Asian hell kind of thing, the light,
hell of the upside down sinners.
Yeah, the lights.
Yeah,
like you were looking at this like, oh, this is so 80s.
Yeah,
this really is.
I mean, even at the end when they all pile into the truck and he starts it, Kim Cattrall, what was that? 8.9 on the Richter scale.
Yeah.
Classic 80s lines.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like that one was classic 80s. The only thing more classic is They Live.
Yeah.
Your list had They Live. And
yes.
I was so highly tempted to put that on my list because Rowdy Roddy Piper.
I saw that recently at the Alamo.
Yeah.
And everybody remembers I've come here to chew bubblegum and to kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. But there are scenes in it where I kind of feel they just said, okay, riff. Because when he first has the sunglasses on and he walks into the...
Well, yeah, it's another John Carpenter movie.
But like when he's going off, he looks at one person and he sees that the alien and he's like, holy shit. And then he looks at the other person and it's normal. He goes, you? He goes, you're good looking. You're fine. And looks at the alien and goes, you? Formaldehyde face. And you could, like, I just tell, like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
He was just like, he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to cut a promo. I'm going to shoot on everybody. Throwing a little wrestling reference out there. I'm going to shoot right now. And just go off. And John Carpenter's like, fucking go.
Well, they wrote that. They said, based off of Rowdy Roddy Piper's life experiences.
Really? He fought aliens?
No, but it's like living on the streets.
Okay.
Like fighting, like scrapping to survive and stuff. Like Piper had a book of all of these things, like sayings and stuff he wanted to use. Like, because of his wrestling promo days and stuff, it works so well. It's like you wouldn't have thought he was that good of an actor, and then you see it and you're like, holy shit.
Yep.
Like, I wish we would have gotten more movies with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Well,
I mean, I will say, you can watch They Live Today,
mm-hmm.
and it still has a valid impact on our society of the way people are behaving today.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Everyone wants to say there's all these messages and stuff everywhere. Yeah, well, They Live. It was like, put on the glasses. It's
and
like,
you see everything, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, change your perspective.
Yep.
See things a different way. But there is a difference between reality and fiction.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
But it is the
it I mean,
but it really
they live kind of blurs the line.
it blurs the line, but so does it nowadays when we look at our society as a whole.
Yeah.
And this is me getting on a little bit of a soapbox, but when you actually look at everything that's going on, you have these rich elites, the 1%. Nobody has this kind of money.
Yeah.
And what are they doing exactly? They're basically going, and you have the elites. They're selling poor people on their things that are not in their best interest.
Yep.
When you go and you see politicians are sitting there saying, "Oh, we need to cut spending," but they're not saying what they want to cut spending on, and you find out they want to cut spending on Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. These are things we've been paying into, but there are people who are willing to vote against their best interest for what?
Yep.
So it really is that moment where people need to wake up, open their eyes, and actually start looking at what their best interest is. And a corporation does not have your best interest at heart.
Oh yeah.
Look at the gas prices. When you take a look at gas prices, the oil companies are making record profits.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we're the ones paying at the pump because they know they got us by the short and curlies.
Yep.
Because we have to go to work.
Yep.
And that's the thing, Listen, I'll get on my soapbox from time to time, but this is related to the movie itself because you see, like, this was a theme in the movie. That you had the rich the aliens were influencing people, giving them money, which I have to say, Meg Foster, her eyes.
They still, I mean,
oh God.
Even if you watch, she was in, I think, Jeepers Creepers 3.
Well, we can go with I think it was like 23,
Mm-hmm.
that Rob Zombie movie. Yes, she did a Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah, but those eyes still are the
Oh,
same.
her eyes are just amazing. Like, I saw her as Evil Lynn.
Yep.
I never liked the character of Evil Lynn in the cartoon. I thought she was kind of cool, but it was like, no big deal. I saw Meg Foster playing her, and I was like, okay. I didn't think I was ever going to like Evil Lynn, and I was like, okay.
My favorite version of Evil Lynn came in with the
Kevin Smith version?
Kevin Smith version. I think Lena Headey.
Oh, she sold it.
She sold it without even seeing her on film. She sold the character to a T.
I just wish they would have given her Meg Foster's eyes.
Yeah, that would have been cool. My favorite line that she has in the Kevin Smith one is when she's working with Orko, and Orko is getting through to her.
Yeah.
And Orko goes, "I have to ask," and she goes, "No, I wasn't always called Lynn." And I was like, perfect. and then she gives Orko this look, and Orko's like, "Motherfucker." Yep. Okay, I got you. Like, okay, now, I mean, it's like you could see the connection they had through just the voices, and it's like it works. And I put her as my number one Evil Lynn, Lena Headey.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind seeing her in a live action as Evil Lynn.
Oh yeah, that would actually probably be pretty cool.
Yep.
Now we're coming out of the 80s. Now we're going back. I want to discuss the thing. I sent you a TikTok video of James Gunn discussing the future of the DC universe.
Yeah,
You watched it?
I watched it. I've seen the list that he has coming out.
I don't 100% trust that list is accurate because it's plans. Marvel had plans for things that didn't pan out. But I will say there is one thing on there that has me extremely excited.
Booster Gold.
Exactly. If you do anything with Booster Gold, you have my attention.
Right now, if you had to cast Booster Gold today.
Oh.
Okay. And you can choose anybody from any famous person. Doesn't matter if they're an actor or not, just to fit the role. Who do you got?
Nathan Fillion.
As Booster Gold.
as Booster Gold.
Okay.
Because I can picture Nathan Fillion as Booster coming back from the future, a washed up football player who screwed up by betting on his own games, coming back with stolen merchandise, trying to capitalize on his knowledge of the future.
See, I could picture Nathan Fillion as Ted Cord.
Maybe. But the only way I could see doing that would be him partnering him up, where it's Nathan Fillion and, oh, shoot. I hate when I'm blanking on the actor's name. The one from Firefly and Serenity that played Walsh.
The Baldwin?
Huh?
Baldwin?
No, not Baldwin.
Oh.
Yeah, I hate when
Steve the Pirate.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Steve the Pirate.
Steve the Pirate.
You know, Mr. Nobody.
Mr. Nobody. K2SO. Oh, shit.
Yep.
Resident Alien.
Yep.
Oh, he was Van Wayne.
Yeah. Yep.
The 4-episode.
Oh, no, there was more. They did about 10 episodes.
Did they?
And one of them actually has Adam West.
Oh, shit. I see the guy. What's his name? I see his face.
I'm trying to look it up, and unfortunately, I don't know what's going on with my IMDb app on my phone.
Google Serenity.
Oh, yeah. You got to remember something. I go straight to IMDb for it. So,
and when you say it, I'm like, oh, that guy. Oh, shit. Oh, this is annoying, people. When you see the face, and you're like, oh, him.
Alan Tudyk.
I
didn't even pull it up fully. I got it before it came up.
Yeah.
So Alan Tudyk, if you make Alan Tudyk Booster,
okay,
then Nathan Fillion's Ted Cord.
Okay.
Because those two have such a great dynamic.
They do.
Although I was interested to see what they would have done with Legends of Tomorrow with Donald Faison as Booster Gold. Like
he was in there because didn't they have Skeets?
The final episode
right
of Legends of Tomorrow,
mm-hmm.
Booster Gold pops up.
Does he?
He's there, and it's Donald Faison.
Okay.
And it was a Hail Mary throw, but I still wanted to see it. It's to see Donald Faison, hoping that they might finally touch on Ted Cord,
mm-hmm.
and if they could get his buddy from Scrubs.
Yes.
You want to see it. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like to see JD and Turk back together again, but as Booster and Ted.
That would work. See, I don't know. Like I would cast Nathan Fillion as Ted Cord. And when I tell you my pick for Booster,
okay,
you might slap me.
Okay, now notice there was silence there. I was reaching for a bottle of water.
You might throw that at me.
I might. So now I'm curious as to what he's going to say. So he has my attention.
I'm going to say Mike the Miz Mazanik, how the fuck you say his last name?
Mike Mazanin? Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, if you look at his character on WWE, how he's full of himself, how he could play the fool.
Motherfucker. I hate you. I legitimately hate you.
He is Booster.
He's not Booster. He's an asshole. At least his character is. Because his show with him and his wife, I actually like the guy.
Yeah,
I'm like, his character is so hated.
His character is hated, but he's a cool guy. Just watching his character, how he's full of himself, how he like he could do no wrong. You put him in the Booster costume, you say this is what you're doing, and he can play Booster Gold to a T. Mike the Mazanik.
Mike Mazanin. The only way Mazanin.
That's a Mazanin.
You say Mazanin. It's like
Mazanin.
Like seriously, it's Mazanin.
Mazanin.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you have a New York accent and you're Italian, and unfortunately, you also happen to have a public school education.
Mazanin. Mazanin.
There you go. Now, I will say, and yes, I have to mock you for this, and I'm going to, but I'm going to do this off the show because I'm going to get really cruel. And and I'm going to. So, anyone who knows me knows there's a reason why I have the nickname the Dragon. When I start, I don't stop, I spit fire. But this is one of those things where the only way I can picture that is I would need to hear Mike Mizanin as his character, the Miz, say, "The man of tomorrow today, Booster Gold." To hear him say that, he'd have to sell me on it because I have not watched his Marine movies because I was not going to continue on with the Marine. I saw the first one.
I saw the first one just because I wanted to see it when it came out.
Oh, absolutely.
And Robert Patrick was the movie, but
Robert Patrick, and the best part is Robert Patrick coming back again. Him and John Cena together in Peacemaker.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about that. I kind of blocked out the first Marine.
I think most people did.
Yeah.
And the second Marine, if I'm not mistaken, starred Ted DiBiase Jr.
Yes.
Because the second,
Why not?
Yeah, the second 12 rounds starred Randy Orton, and then when they got to the third one, it was then Dean Ambrose. But then the Marine, I think the third from 3 on, it's the Miz.
Yeah.
And I still kind of sit there and question and scratch my head why.
Yeah.
Why do you keep making these movies? But I guess you can keep making the money symbol all you want. It doesn't make a difference. It's still it's a head scratcher because, gee, I wonder why WWE lost a ton of money. They kept funding the fucking Marine movies.
Well, I just think it's funny that the real Marines said if you cast Randy Orton in the film, we're not endorsing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you figure he was dishonorably discharged, so makes sense. I know Doug doesn't want us talking about wrestling, so.
But this isn't wrestling. This is movies with wrestlers.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you even just screen test The Miz as Booster Gold, I think he would work.
You can screen test him, but I still see someone with more of a personality when it comes to being on camera to be charming. I need somebody who you're going to want to like Booster.
I think he could do it.
I question it. He could prove me wrong if that's the case, but when it comes to it currently, I have to say Nathan Fillion or Alan Tudyk, those guys could very well do it unless they go and they choose to continue on with Donald Faison. Because Donald Faison is a fucking talented gift.
Oh, he's hysterical.
That man makes me laugh, and he made me laugh going all the way back to him in Clueless.
Yeah.
So, and nothing is funnier than watching the scenes of Josie and the Pussycats where they have the boy band with Donald Faison and all those, like Seth Green and like all those guys lip syncing these songs that the connotation alone is so wrong, but they are funny as hell.
Yep.
Backdoor Lover.
Backdoor Lover, all right.
Coming from behind with the lights down low. I'm sorry, but it was just, that to me was great. I have those songs.
Of course you do.
Because they're just hilarious.
Yeah,
Round the World
songs.
with Dijon.
Yep.
They were Dijon. So it's like, you got it. If you can make something like that work in a movie that is just so
awful.
They
didn't even have the rights to use the theme song, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. But I will say, though, the casting of the girls was great. It was more upsetting that they didn't have the twins.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I think bothered me more than anything. But to be fair, Donald Faison makes so many things better.
He does.
So
I liked him in the direct TV commercials with he just keeps popping up out of nowhere.
well, yeah, well, him and oh geez, I hate when I forget the name of the actors
Yeah.
from Scrubs.
Right. They yeah.
They have their Fake Doctors, Real Friends podcast.
Yep.
Where they're going through the stuff. They're going through Scrubs. There's so many great podcasts out there. We hope to be part of that pantheon, but
we will eventually get there.
But
you got to keep tuning in, folks.
And this is your home for entertainment talk.
Yep.
Fun, excitement, all those things you're missing in your life. We provide you with that time.
Yeah.
And just play us in the background, please. We are here to keep you entertained.
Keep you company.
Don't be lonely.
Don't be lonely.
We're here to provide you with. We're your emotional support podcast.
Yes.
You don't need an emotional support monkey.
You got us.
You've got us.
You got these monkeys right here.
You got two idiots that are definitely more than willing to say some dumb shit and keep you guys entertained.
Yes.
Because
but definitely watch A Fine Mess.
As long as you watch Amazon Women on the Moon, you got to make sure. It's like, people, please, Doug, write to Mike on his Instagram. Mike, what is your Instagram?
Hamster Pellet Productions.
And what are the rest of your socials so people can find you?
You can find me on the Facebook surprisingly enough, Hamster Pellet Productions. And I'm on the Ticking Talk at Hamster Pellet 17. That's me. Yeah.
So I want our listeners, Doug, send out the word, spread it. I want everyone to bombard Mike with messages telling him to watch Amazon Women on the Moon. Until he watches that movie, I do not want this to stop. I need him to see this movie so he can understand some of the many references that I make. Because frankly, if he doesn't watch it, we need for him to understand, is it bullshit or not?
It's probably bullshit.
The Loch Ness Monster makes an
not.
appearance in this.
Of course, it's the real Loch Ness Monster too, not the fake shit.
Oh, no. You need to see Amazon Women on the Moon to understand this.
See, watching that, it's going to annoy me.
Oh, no, it's not.
No. It's going to annoy me in the fact that can get made and our shit can't.
Well, here's
that got money.
But it was the 80s. There was more cocaine going around than there was funding for movies, and people were willing to take a tax write-off. Listen, we'd have to move to Germany to be able to make movies and get government funding. Uwe Boll gets funding for his crap.
Blood Rain.
Listen, Blood Rain had potential, but unfortunately,
the best part about Blood Rain, you need to see Kristen Loken's tits.
Kristanna Loken is a great actress in her own right,
films.
But they've cast her in the wrong thing.
Yes.
The Mortal Kombat series with her, Conquest.
Didn't see it.
She's in that.
Will she play Sonya?
No. This is before, like, Liu Kang and stuff. This still has Kung Lao.
Oh.
So it was like TNT, TBS kind of like style. We'll get to that and like as we time travel through shows, because I want to start talking more where we'll talk new stuff, but go over some old stuff and things. So it's going to be stuff that's going to be obscure or hard and like crazy shit people forgot about, because I have way too much knowledge about that stuff. And I need to share. I need to burden Mike with these things. So if I
unload his soul,
if I can't forget it and I can't unsee it, neither can
I.
So with that being said, we're going to go and do a whole bunch more. I want to thank Doug for his list. If anybody else wants to submit, remember, you can email us your list at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's Dragoon's Lair Podcast, all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. Dragoon's Lair Podcast@gmail.com. You can contact me on Instagram at BlueDragoon13. You can contact me as well on TikTok, BlueDragoon13. You can find my YouTube channel at BlueDragoon13. That's the number 13, not the word. So BlueDragoon13 for most of the socials. If you see it it's probably me. If you message them and it's not me, please let me know.
Then it's somebody else.
Let me know, because someone's trying to steal my identity. And if you would like to reach out to me on the PlayStation Network, it's Blue Dragoon 13 is my gamer tag. That's why I am Blue Dragoon 13. But yeah, so we hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. You know, we have gone above and beyond with our time traveling time and experience, and we'll build up more tolerance for traveling to the past. But for now, we want to leave you with at the door of the lair and say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Later, everybody.
Bye.